Sí, sí. Good afternoon. It's a little past time. I apologize for being a few minutes late, but I called the Administrative Committee to order, and we have a presentation today from our Office of Performance Management Administrator, and I am so sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. Will you please pronounce your name?
So, good afternoon. My name is Alma Mujkanovic.
Thank you.
Mujkanovic. J is silent. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Commissioner McMurray. Alma Mujkanovic from the Office of Performance-Based Management and Research, or OPMR. I'm very excited and deeply honored to be here today and to present on our research program. So before I start my presentation, I'll provide you with an overview of the office that I manage. The Office of Performance-Based Management and Research, or OPMR, is a standalone office that doesn't report or belong to any division. We report to the Director of Government and Policy Affairs. The office consists of 11 positions and 2 different units. The Performance-Based Management Unit, responsible for the Department's strategic planning, asset and performance management programs, and then our research unit that's responsible for administering and managing our research program. So at Georgia DOT, we do not conduct research just for the research's sake. In addition to utilizing research to answer some of the critical questions that we are facing, we are also utilizing research to address some of the gaps and challenges that we have in our operations. And those gaps and challenges we often identify on the performance-based management side. In addition, through research, we are identifying potential solutions to those challenges, and those solutions usually come in a variety of ways. Sometimes we have new methods, methodologies, materials, products, and also technologies. So the mission for the office is to facilitate, support, and implement process improvement where the programs that I just mentioned are driving accountability, efficiency, transparency, and innovation across the department. So now I'm going to transfer and talk about the research program. So this is a federally mandated program that all state DOTs administer. The program is funded by the State Planning and Research Funds, or SPR funds. We have the 8th largest program in the nation by the amount of federal funds allotted. Our annual operating budget is around $10 million, and this annual budget is allowing us the participation in national, regional, as well as state-level research activities. The FHWA is providing an overall oversight for our program. In addition to answering some of the technical questions for us, they're also ensuring that we are delivering this program in accordance with federal guidelines. We do have a mission statement for our research unit, and that statement is improving Georgia DOT operations through strategic and implementable research. So there are several avenues that we can utilize to conduct and to fund our research projects. One of the biggest avenues is the National Cooperative Highway Research Program, or NCHRP. State DOTs annually contribute a 5.5% of their overall SPR funding to participate in this program. In return, state DOTs can propose research projects to be considered for funding through NCHRP. The projects proposed need to be applicable to the majority of state DOTs. Another avenue is the pooled fund study program that we also participate in. So in some instances, several state DOTs will pool their funds together with private, regional, and sometimes federal agencies to deliver some of the research projects of common interest. And our final avenue is the Georgia Transportation Institute. I'll talk about Georgia Transportation Institute later in the presentation, but when and if we have a GDOT-specific research questions or challenges that we would like to get answered, then we are utilizing this avenue. There are many benefits that the research produces for the department. Not only does research help us improve our operations and identify cost-effective solutions to some of our challenges, but it's also providing us with the opportunities for competitive advantage as it directly drives innovation. Now, you might be wondering, how do our research projects get initiated and approved? So the research ideas can originate internally from any of the GDOT employees or externally from academia and in some rare instances from federal highways. The office administrators that work in the areas related to the research topics proposed provide initial support for the research. If the research gets approved, then each project is assigned a technical implementation manager. A technical implementation manager is a subject matter expert that comes from the end-using office, and he or she is going to assist our research team that consists of college professors and their students in answering any technical questions. This person is also going to be responsible for implementing the research results within their divisions or offices. The research team also contains a research project manager. This individual comes from my office, and he or she is responsible for the project scope, schedule, budget, but also they are ensuring the overall quality of the final deliverables. So when we get to the approval process, our chief engineer is actively engaged in our research, and she's providing the overall direction for this program. The Research Advisory Committee, or the RAC, is consisting of our division directors, and they are providing us with their guidance regarding the program structure, and also they are approving our projects as well as funding. And finally, the RTAG members. They are the backbone of our program. There are 4 RTAGs throughout the department in the areas of policy, workforce, safety, mobility, and asset management. The RTAG groups vary in size. They are anywhere from 11 to 17 members, and they are actively engaged in identifying research topics as well as in prioritizing research needs. And I touched a bit on the Research Transportation Institute. They are our primary research partner. It's a consortium of 11 universities that are engaged in transportation research, and they're contracting with us to deliver research projects, and not only to deliver research projects, but also to promote education and workforce development. As in many instances, the research team contains graduate students who are, after they graduate from college and after they do research for us, come to our agency and work for us. At the last board meeting, the commissioner has mentioned our 13th annual Research Expo, or a poster session. The event took place on September the 10th, and this is the time when our GTI community and our employees come together to meet, network, and also discuss research. We had 63 posters, 5 universities, and 154 participants. As a matter of fact, we have left some posters in this very room after we met with the GTI for their reviewing. So now I'm going to share with you a few notable projects that we completed and that we either implemented or are in the process of implementing. And one of those projects is delivered for the Office of Construction. With this project, we developed a training modules to increase usage and understanding of agency-wide software programs. So some of the programs that we developed the modules for are ProjectWise, Bluebeam, and contract authorization tracking systems that our construction employees are regularly using. The outcome of the project was the development of standardized and on-demand training, which is important because having an on-demand training eliminates the need for instructor-led training, which might be challenging for construction employees to schedule as well as attend. And the training materials are already available. Not only do our construction employees are utilizing them, but other employees from other offices are utilizing them as well. Another project that I would like to highlight deals with the feasibility assessment of alternative power options for roundabout lighting in Georgia. So as you know, the roundabouts are very beneficial to us as they are improving mobility and they are also reducing crashes. And in order for us to ensure that they are properly working during nighttime conditions, they need to be well illuminated. We used the electric grid as the power source to illuminate them, but in this research, we are exploring some of the alternative power options, such as wind and solar energy. The result of the study was the creation of the map, and that map is displayed on the right-hand side, which outlines the specific locations that would benefit from these alternative power options. And also it outlines which options would be applicable to which region. So we are currently exploring to pilot a study to implement some of these findings. And at the last board meeting, you've heard about the drone utilization across the department. And in this research study, we are documenting drone data collection, processing, and also data analysis methods. And we are exploring the opportunities to utilize drones for our traffic and safety-related parameters. As the outcome of the study, we've created 6 SOPs to provide instructions related to how we operate the drone, how to do camera calibration, field data collection, as well as how we analyze the data. And the findings of this study are currently being implemented. Displayed on the right-hand side are the drone collected images and data that is capturing traffic movement on Georgia's intersections. By examining the traffic movement and the vehicle turning radii, we can better assess if the current traffic movement corresponds to the recommended design specifications that are outlined in our design guidance documents. So, as many offices within GDOT, my office is always looking for opportunities to innovate. Just recently, we teamed up with the Office of Strategic Communications and produced several research-related videos. This is done in order to expand utilization of our research projects and make them relatable to a broader audience by providing a concise and easy-to-understand project summary. The video supplements the final report, which is usually a very long and it is written in a very technical language. And I have a copy of a report with me. This is the outcome of our research study, and usually they come in this package. So today I'm going to share one of the videos with you that we produced. And this video deals with the lane distribution factor. The lane distribution factor is a coefficient that we are using for highway and pavement design data. It measures traffic volume distribution across multiple lanes of the same direction of the road, and it's helping us to determine what percentage of traffic volume we can anticipate for the lanes that we are currently designing. And this is important because, among other factors, the lane distribution factor is one of the many factors that will determine the thickness of our pavement. And now the video.
In simple terms, the LDF represents the percentage of traffic volumes traveling in the outermost lane, known as the design lane, compared to the total traffic volumes across all lanes in a single direction. Typically, The LDF varies based on area or facility type, the number of lanes, and overall traffic volume. The Georgia Department of Transportation, or GDOT, previously relied on LDF values derived from outdated traffic data. Given the significant economic, population, and demographic shifts in Georgia over the past decade, these outdated values need reassessment and potential updates to reflect current traffic characteristics. This study is driven by three primary objectives. Number one, to estimate representative statewide LDFs using the latest lane-specific vehicle counts and classification data from active continuous count stations, CCS, and Weigh in Motion, WIM, sites. Number two, to update, if necessary, the LDF values in the GDOT Pavement Design Manual. Number three, to establish a systematic process that enables GDOT to continually evaluate and update the LDFs beyond the project's completion. The study integrates the latest lane-specific vehicle counts and classification data from CCS and WIM sites across Georgia. A new framework is developed, recommending separate LDF tables for pavement design. This approach accounts for the significant impact of area and facility types on LDF values. With anticipated economic growth and technological advances, such as e-mobility, statewide deployment of charging stations, semi-autonomous or autonomous truck platooning, emerging connected and autonomous vehicles, etc., it's recommended that LDF values be updated every 3 years to accurately reflect changing traffic patterns. To implement the study results, updated LDF values are derived using newly developed models. These models are applied to estimate LDF values, which are then compared with the current values in the GDOT Pavement Design Manual. Recognizing the influence of area and facility types on LDF variation, separate LDF tables are created based on Model A and Model B for different area and facility types. By updating LDF values and adopting a more dynamic approach, GDOT can ensure that pavement designs meet current and future demands efficiently and accurately. Thank you for joining us as we explore these vital updates to enhance Georgia's infrastructure. For more information, please visit our website or contact GDOT directly.
So I hope that in today's presentation, I was able to demonstrate how research and innovation go hand in hand and really complement each other. While research answers questions to unknown concepts, ideas, and methods, innovation is often achieved by directly applying research findings into our everyday operations. I have also shared a few examples of GDOT's investment in research and how we engage the GTI community not only to help us answer some of our critical questions, but also how this can help us to transform research findings into practical solutions that are often cost-effective and innovative. And with this, we are ensuring that the department continues to grow and innovate. So this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions or comments that you might have.
Anyone have questions? If not, thank you so much. Very interesting and informative update on your program. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. If there's no further business to come before our committee, I adjourn the administrative committee.
All righty. So now I call the Program Delivery Committee to order. We're going to have two presentations today. The first is a utility program update from Nick Fields, who is our State Utilities Administrator. Nick, the floor is yours.
Move this up just a little bit. We've got some height challenges here. Okay, well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, full board, and commissioner. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and give an overview of GDOT's utilities program. So our vision for the utilities program is to remain laser focused on active utility and railroad management. For us, this means managing utility and railroad impacts throughout its life cycle while prioritizing the safety of the traveling public. Now, the picture on the screen is an image in New York City, not Atlanta. Okay, I want to clarify that. The point being, there's a lot of things under the road, and we don't want our routes to look like this. Our program has district and state offices. A key distinction is that our district utility offices are the first line of service and the boots on the ground for any utility or railroad need that impacts GDOT right away. Those needs include permitting and inspecting new installations, performing coordination on projects, inspecting relocation during construction, and railroad maintenance. State utilities comes alongside the districts to provide support in all those areas while setting policy, performing railroad coordination, managing the railroad safety program, providing SUE services, certifying projects for letting, managing the escalation and mediation process, and managing the billing and payments of utility and railroad agreements. All utility activity in the right-of-way is governed by GDOT's Utility Accommodation and Policy Manual, or the UAM. The UAM is supported by state law and includes items such as GDOT's authority to regulate the installation, construction, and maintenance of facilities in right-of-way, controls on placement, and our policy for permitting, inspecting, utility coordination, relocation, and escalation. There's a lot of utility types shown on the screen here, and most are in GDOT right-of-way. Some are common, others not so common. So why are utilities permitted in the right-of-way? The key words I'll highlight here is public interest. This speaks to the joint use of including utilities in highway right-of-way to avoid the additional costs of acquiring separate right-of-way for their accommodation. The thought is easing the burden on taxpayers who are also ratepayers. Now that I've shared what's considered a utility and why they're included in the right-of-way, I'll shift gears and focus on the theme of active utility management by highlighting some exciting efforts underway. I'll start with our first utilities CAD to GIS system under development with user testing in FY 2027. This software will have the ability to convert GIS to CAD and vice versa, ingest as-built data, and have 3D conversion capabilities. This will help streamline first submission efforts while capturing the dynamic life cycle of utilities throughout design, construction, operations, and maintenance. We're also utilizing AI to pull millions of public records and map concept-level utility data statewide. This will support district efforts during concept development, SUE Quality Level D, identifying abandoned facilities during construction, and quick access to data during emergencies. This is another tool supporting the dynamic life cycle of utilities in right-of-way. And finally, with the 3D conversion capabilities under development, we're also piloting 3D utility design and clash detection through Open Roads Designer. Once systems are online, we envision as-built data collection becoming everyday practice in permitting and relocations. We see the day when technology makes the effort of active utility management even more efficient and streamlined. The day when those in design, construction, and operations see 3D underground facilities as clear as above ground through handheld devices, tablets, and laptops. And again, this process will be dynamic so that at all phases of right-of-way management, utility data will be available in real time at any time. GDOT's role in managing utilities in the right-of-way and the development of systems accordingly is a bit of a service for utilities that also enhances our coordination efforts. It's also a collaborative effort to identify and mitigate conflicts in an environment where facilities are plentiful, but human resources are limited on both sides. So I just shared where we're going. Now let's talk about where we are. Staying in the vein of active utility management, I'd like to highlight the processes we have in place for 3 key areas of managing utilities, which include permitting and inspection, utility coordination, and relocation and construction management. First up is permitting and inspection. Let me pause here to give a sense of the volume we experience in a given year. I specifically want to point out the over 900 utility owners with facilities in the right-of-way and over 13,000 permit submissions received in FY25. Our process begins with the utility submitting their permit electronically in GPAS. A review is performed by district utilities. Exceptions to the UAM and fee permits are sent to state utilities for review. If items are omitted or corrections needed, the permit is returned to the utility owner, and once approved by district utilities, the permit is claimed by the inspector to hold a pre-construction conference and release the utility owner to begin work. Next, I'll touch on utility coordination. The items on the screen give a sense of volume for these efforts as well, and I specifically want to point out the over 800 projects being coordinated, as well as an average of 89 points of conflict on a project, with as little as 4 conflicts and as many as 694. This slide illustrates how we manage the utility coordination process. So each utility owner has 6 opportunities to share existing and proposed facility information during project development. This ensures early and continuous coordination. In addition, each of our districts hold quarterly utility and railroad meetings to discuss the status of projects in the construction work program. Concept is the early identification of utilities, existing facilities, and potential high-risk conflicts based on conceptual design. First submission is the initial utility review, gathering of utility owner records, verification, and mapping of existing utility data. SUE, or subsurface utility engineering, is a civil engineering subdiscipline that utilizes record research, geophysical exploration, and potholing to accurately identify, map, and manage underground and aerial utilities. For every dollar invested in SUE efforts, $4.62 is saved. The PURP, or Preliminary Utility Relocation Plan, allows utility companies to provide non-binding draft relocation plans to inform design decisions. PFPR, or the Preliminary Field Plan Review, looks for constructability concerns and utility conflicts based on preliminary design and existing utility data collected. Second submission updates plans with proposed utility relocations based on final design, and then FFPR, the Final Field Plan Review, confirms that all conflicts resolved through the proposed relocation design is acceptable based on construction staging, environmental commitments, and right-of-way footprint. Included in the utility coordination process is the submission of utility adjustment schedules, or UASs, which are required by law. The UAS takes into consideration roadway staging, dependent activities, joint use coordination, regulatory restrictions, and seasonal limitations. Section D summarizes the phases of the work plan and includes the number of days the utility needs to complete their work prior to and after project award. The phases include preliminary engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction engineering, material procurement, clearing and trimming, construction, splicing or tie-in work, service considerations, and temporary work. GDOT reviews and negotiates UAS durations to ensure a reasonable schedule is received from each utility owner. After negotiations are complete, a Primavera schedule is created with the total duration to relocate all impacted utilities. And then once approved, the UAS has become binding. The third and final bucket is relocation and construction management. I'll pause here as well to give a sense of volume, noting that this is over a span of years. I specifically want to point out the over 1,000 projects led to construction since FY 2022. That's a lot of work, and only 13% of those projects experienced an escalation action. During relocation and construction, each project is assigned a Worksite Utility Coordination Supervisor, or WUCS. This is a contract requirement. The WUCS is responsible for monitoring the prosecution and progress of all utility relocation, preparing detailed notes of all utility coordination meetings, and is the primary point of contact between utilities, the contractor, and GDOT. The UCEI, or Utility Construction Engineering and Inspection Consultant, is responsible for inspecting and documenting the work, attending utility coordination meetings, and measurement and payment of utility relocations in the contract. Also included in relocation and construction management is the escalation and mediation process. The legislature intended for mediation to be a means by which the department, the utilities, and the contractor can settle disputes regarding the removal, relocation, and adjustment of utilities on department's project. The dispute resolution is viewed as less expensive and more constructive of an alternative to litigation. If the contractor determines that the utility is at least 20% behind their work plan, they notify the utility and the department of such delay, which initiates escalation step 1. The goal of escalation step 1 is to identify the potential delay early, give the utility an opportunity to propose a cure, and if accepted by the contractor, adhere to the approved recovery plan to mitigate the schedule risk. If the utility's proposal to cure the delay is not satisfactory, the contractor then proceeds to escalation step 2 with the dispute. The goal of escalation step 2 is for the GDOT district and SME offices to collectively determine if the utility's proposal to cure the delay is satisfactory based on the project schedule. If found liable and it's not satisfactory, the utility has 45 days from receipt of notification to either pay the delay costs or request full mediation. So in closing, the innovative solutions and processes shared for permitting and inspection, utility coordination, and relocation and construction are essential to GDOT's ability to actively manage the dynamic life cycle of utilities in the right-of-way. Mr. Chair, this concludes my presentation, but before I take any questions, I would like to say that none of the efforts shared today would be possible without the hard work and dedication of great women and men that support the utilities program statewide. We have several district and state utilities leaders here in the audience, and if it pleases the committee, I'd like for them to stand and be acknowledged. Thank you.
Nick, thank you.
Take any questions at this time.
Great presentation. We do have at least one. I saw Ms. Williams. You have a question?
Yes, if you could go back to escalation, I understood a little of what all you said, but I also know this is something that's so critical to GDOT's success and measurements of success. I want to understand this slide just a little better. We have a case in Fort Valley where there's an intersection going over a Norfolk Southern rail that apparently they found some unknown utilities,
Yes,
and the project's just ground to a halt. Help me understand again, if you don't mind going through it, the escalation, the 3 different steps. And my question is, at each of these steps, is everything just delayed while it goes through this process?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So let me start with the trigger for escalation is a delay in the work plan. So in the case of finding an unidentified utility that may not have been in the project plans or there wasn't a work plan submitted, our UAM and the state law does give them a window of 30 days to submit a work plan and introduce their relocation into the schedule. Ma'am? I'm sorry, using the acronym.
I know.
So the utility adjustment schedule
Okay.
is a work plan that all utility owners are required to submit for a project so that we can determine the amount of relocation time that's needed, and so that the contractor is aware of it as well. So if it's an unknown utility that just surfaces, they have the ability to submit that work plan. And then the contractor at that point tracks their work plan to see if they're behind schedule. But a key distinction is the trigger is if they're 20% behind or more on their work plan. And so escalation step one is a contractor communicating to the department and the utility that they are 20% or more behind on their schedule. Once that's presented, the utility has the ability to propose a cure to get back on schedule. The goal, my dream is that everything's resolved in escalation step one, right? Because it's the opportunity to get back on schedule, and it really gives the utility a chance to mitigate the concern. If that proposal to cure the situation is not acceptable to the contractor, then they request to proceed to escalation step two. And that's when SMEs on a state level and district level take a look at the proposed cure to see if it really did satisfy what originally triggered the delay. Sometimes the delays are due to crews mobilizing later than they should have. Sometimes it's a material issue that wasn't considered. The goal is if the utility is able to recover time in some other part of their schedule and in essence get the relocation back on schedule, it doesn't delay the critical path items for the contractor. So in step two, the goal is to determine, was it really a valid cure, or was the cure truly not acceptable? It is going to result in a delay to the contractor, and then ultimately a decision has to be made. Are they liable for the delay, or are they not liable? And if they are liable for the delay, the utility can choose to either compensate the contractor for the monetary damages, or they can request to proceed to mediation. And that's where the department, the attorneys, on both sides, they come together to mediate the dispute and ultimately come to a resolution.
So in the meantime, nothing really happens? Because
Well,
this is like a year going on now.
It really depends on, so I can definitely look closer into the project in Fort Valley, but it really depends on the critical path item that was impacted. Not every escalation results in a contractor stopping work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes it's minor, so that
And
picture
sometimes
that
it
you
is major.
showed, the 3D picture, you don't have to go back, but how do you get to that point? Is that moving forward? There's no way you could go back and try to do a 3D model of what's there now?
No, ma'am.
Right.
Unfortunately not.
And apparently, we don't actually know everything that's there until we actually dig in the ground?
If we have, if we have subsurface utility engineering done, there is a lot of exploration done, including what we call potholing, which is exposing the actual utility to see how deep it is, so we know exactly where it is.
Okay.
X, Y, Z.
Interesting.
Technology is catching up with practice, and eventually we will be in a world where you can pull a tablet out and hold it in the right way, and you can see everything that's there. Of course, that takes everything working in unison, including all the subsurface exploration that we typically do now. It would just be depicted in a 3D model to make it easier for folks to ingest.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me just
Any other
add-
question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can I clarify?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in escalation steps, work usually continues. It's just behind. That doesn't mean things stop. It sounds like this issue is a redesign of whatever, but that's just sort of different. And then I just want Nick to make sure we're not overselling the utopian moment of where you can pull a tablet out. That's assuming, we have to strive. If we don't aim for the moon, we'll never get there, right? So, that has a lot of assumptions built in. But again, the potholing to determine where that is great at that pothole. You move 10 feet away from that, it may change. So it's your best information. But I go back to one of his earlier slides. It just shows all the utilities in the right-of-way, and it's back to a public interest. So we make the right-of-way available for public interest, but there's a lot of coordination, communication that has to happen to try to advance projects, and often people are frustrated because, well, we don't see the contractor working. Well, you're waiting on utilities to be moved, and the utilities can't start. The contractor does some clearing, some rough grading, some sort of getting make it ready. So it's really a song and dance, and then again, generally, not always, but generally the utilities are not under contract with a contractor or us. They're on the right-of-way by permit, and by permit, they're supposed to cooperate and work together. So inherently, relocating utilities is in for-profit and non-profit municipal utilities, and Dennis will tell you, is really not a moneymaker. So it's a necessary evil to be in the use of the public right-of-way. So sometimes there's not a alignment of criticality of all my efforts are in there. And then I'll tell you this, here we are a year after Hurricane Helene. And so there's still schedule impacts when all the power line companies demob from projects to go do critical work for like hurricane recovery. And so there's schedule impacts that happen, things like that are unforeseen that we can't argue with. Those are real impacts to contractor schedules, things we just have to deal with, right? And work with.
I honestly had not even put that into the equation. I didn't even think about it, but I can imagine Fort Valley, everybody mobilized for the hurricane. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Boswell.
To the 3D vision, the commissioner charges us to always look for ways to be better and do better. And so I have a dream.
Nick, we'll give you the next year.
Mr. Boswell, you had a question?
Yeah, I would have a comment. I appreciate what you all do. I'm in the real estate development business, and I know how critical what you all do, how important it is, the speed of the project and how it can get done. But I do appreciate how y'all move forward with this.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Nick, I have just two real quick. One, so your entire presentation to some degree goes into every project we have.
Just about.
Wow. That's wow.
We put eyes on everything.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My second question is, and you may have inferred to this in your remarks, but as it relates to the call before you dig program, is any of this stuff used and or helpful to that program?
They're kind of in their separate categories. They all supplement each other. 811 is all about paint on the ground and locating real time where that facility is before an excavator digs. And so all of this is kind of the precursor to that effort that happens during construction, but they all really work in sync, if that makes any sense. But our primary objective is to identify and mitigate the conflict. That's only as good as the records you receive and the exploration work that's done. And like the commissioner said, the effort of Sue is static. It's a point in time, and I kept reiterating dynamic because this process evolves. While we're designing a project, someone needs a service on the other side of Metro Atlanta, and new installations are being introduced in the right of way. So making sure that we manage that real time, that's really the challenge. So they all kind of work hand in hand, if that answers the question.
It does, I think.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Hey,
Great job,
Mr.
Nick.
Chair.
Thanks for all you and your team
Joe
do
Stein calling
for the
in. Can you
department.
hear me?
It's incredible. So thank you. So our next presentation is a Safety and Operations Programs and Overview presented by Raul Vieira. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Traffic Operations Supervisor, and Ron Nesvich. Did I say that correctly?
You're close. He'll
State Safety Engineer and Supervisor. You go ahead, take it away.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board, and Commissioner. My name is Andrew Pearson. I'm a State Traffic Operations Manager at the TMC. This has all been in flux. I'm here representing Sam Harris, our State Traffic Engineer. We will be discussing product effectiveness of the safety and operational improvement programs. Key takeaways I want you guys to be able to take away from this presentation are the operational improvement program. What it does, its primary goal, I won't say primary goal, but its goal is to address congestion and delay along the state route system. And then the state safety program's goal is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries throughout the state. And so I want to pause with those first two takeaways. Those goals aren't mutually exclusive to each of those programs. Each of those programs, we often look at, so the operational improvement program, we look at ways to address safety, because oftentimes those go hand in hand. If we can address a safety concern, that'll help with operations of our roadways. And the same thing for safety. If safety can address some delay or congestion along a roadway, that can often help with safety concerns, because obviously, people, they get in a rush. If they can't get where they need to go efficiently, they tend to sometimes make erratic decisions. And if you've got a crash on a roadway, it leads to delays. So both of our programs, we tend to work hand in hand, looking at more of the same, a lot of the same issues, and just handling them different ways. And then the third takeaway I want you guys to take away from this presentation is that both programs look at prioritizing their investment, or our investments, utilizing a benefit cost ratio. So I mentioned our investment. Obviously, we invest time, we invest dollars. So the operational improvement program currently operates with a $30 million budget. 18 million of those dollars are state funds, and 12 million of them are federally funded. The state safety program operates with a $100 million federal fund. So what's the process for both the safety and operational improvement programs? It starts with, we receive a request to look at a location or a roadway. And that request can come from the commissioner, come from, as a part of the board, it can come from public citizens who just driving home from work, like, why is it taking me so long to get home? Like, what can we do? And so we take all those requests, we take a look at the intersection, we collect our data, so that's crash data, that's traffic volumes, any pertinent information. And while we're collecting that data, we're also meeting with our district offices as well as local municipalities also to get their input, just to make sure what we're hearing, what we're seeing is an actual problem. So once we do that, we complete our analysis, where we determine what our potential solution would be, and then we move towards approval process. And that's where the two programs kind of differ. The operational improvement program, we're required to get signed off from what we call the operational improvement committee, which consists of the chief engineer, our division director of engineering, operations, and program delivery, as well as the state traffic engineer and the state planning administrator as well. So once we get that approval, we'll move towards programming the project and then design and construction. Safety doesn't have to go through a similar committee. They're going through the typical PDP process. They'll go through concept, get approval of that concept, and then move towards programming the project and design and construction. So I'm going to give you just a quick history about the Operation Improvement Program, then I'll hand it over to Raul to go into a little further detail about the Operational Improvement Program. So the Operational Improvement Program has been around for about 15 years. The onset of the program was because often we saw that even after larger projects, we saw a need for smaller improvements after. So the program was designed to design and deliver projects that are low cost, high benefit on an aggressive time frame, with the goals being to increase throughput, reduce delay, and then hopefully go from idea to delivery in 12 to 18 months. So speaking back to what Nick just said was utilities, I know speaking for the Operation Improvement Program, we generally try to avoid utilities if at all possible, because you can see how utilities can sometimes slow processes down. But sometimes we can't avoid them, and that's where our benefit cost ratio comes into play, and we use those dollar figures to kind of determine what projects that we want to move forward with, or which ones we want to prioritize. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Raul, who's going to explain a little bit more about the Operational Improvement Program.
Thank you for that, Andrew. As you stated, my name is Raul Vieira, State Traffic Operations Supervisor, and I help Andrew in delivering our Operational Improvement Program. Just to touch on a little bit of what he said in regards to this program being data-driven. As he said, we use big data sources to identify these congestion locations. We're able to screen nearly all the intersections along the state route system. We have a bottleneck ranking list, which has 3,000 plus intersections, so we're able to prioritize the most heavily congested intersections around the state and help with our project prioritization. Even with that, like he said, we meet with our local stakeholders regularly to hear concerns directly from citizens. We meet with our district offices, who also filter those complaints in from the districts as well. So hopefully, our goal is that this program is statewide and really focusing on what Georgians need across the state as it relates to their travels to and from work, to different locations across the state. With that, also, we're flexible in our delivery mechanisms. We can deliver anything down to our negotiated bid projects, which have recently been increased to a cost cap of $500,000. So we can do those small cost, quick hitting projects all the way up to full program delivery. And we'll highlight a few of those projects later on in the slides. Overall, the program is really supporting GDOT's mission of delivering transportation system focused on innovation, safety, sustainability, and mobility. The way we prioritize these projects, as Andrew said, is a benefit cost ratio. I'll touch a little bit on how we calculate that. As you can see in the table, we have a source from the Atlanta Regional Commission, which assigns a delay cost to auto travel and truck travel. In our analysis, we calculate the entire delay for the intersection, we'll multiply it by these dollar values and see exactly what it is costing commuters and truck travel. After we select our preferred alternative, we'll see what that reduction in delay is. We'll get our design life benefits, divide that by the project cost. That gives us our BC ratio, help us prioritize our projects, and ensure that Georgians are getting the best bang for their buck out of this program. So first location I'm going to start off with is SR 26 at US 301. This is in Bullitt County, Congressional District number 12. As you can see on the slide here, heading in the eastbound direction, traffic is heavily congested, and what's happening is that it's starving out that right turn lane for anybody who wants to traverse through the intersection and start heading south. Through our data collection analysis, we noticed that there's up to 300 vehicles in the PM peak hour trying to make that right turn, and during signal cycles, they don't even have the opportunity to get into that lane and continue on their way. So our proposed improvement for this location was a extension of the right turn lane, and also, as Andrew spoke to earlier, we're also able to modify the access of that side street to eliminate some conflict points, also contributing to some safety improvements in the area. We're able to identify certain left turn angle crashes and recommend eliminating that left turn out of that driveway, which provides safety benefit as well. So here's what the intersection layout looks like today after it's open to traffic. We're able to get those vehicles into that right turn lane, which are no longer blocked by that heavy congestion shown previously. Estimated cost of this project was around $90,000 with an actual cost closer to $100,000. Our benefit cost estimate was $58,000, and as you can see, with that improvement, we're able to reduce travel times in the PM peak hour in our open year by 10%, and in the design year, hopefully closer up to 15%. Second location I want to discuss with you all today, SR 306 at SR 400 ramps. This is going to be in Forsyth County, Congressional District Number 6. The issue going on here with this ramp is that left turns heading southbound onto SR 400 were so heavy that these vehicles were queuing through the northbound ramps and further down onto Freedom Parkway, causing congestion at the interstate ramps here. So our solution was to convert a portion of the striped median into a 50-foot westbound through queue lane that will serve as additional storage for those westbound vehicles heading south on SR 400. This is what the construction looks like today, open to traffic. You can see we've taken some of that available flush median and converted it into the through lane, increasing capacity at the intersection shown by that darker pavement there. Now, the cost of this project was roughly $150,000 with a BC of 22, and this is an extremely effective project. We're showing nearly 50% improvement in some of our design scenarios. So a project like that providing tremendous benefit to the traveling public at this location. And the final project I'll highlight for you guys, I-75 at Cassville White Road. This is a larger interchange project that we undertook. If you can see in the existing conditions, the overpass is only a 2-lane segment. What this causes is heavy left turn traffic will cause excessive delays at both ramps just due to the lack of turn lanes, lack of available gaps for everybody to make those turns. So what we did here was convert both ramp terminals to roundabouts. Additionally, this design, when being considered, also added additional benefit for heavy truck turning traffic at this location. The design of the roundabouts is able to safely accommodate those heavy truck turning movements, provide them the appropriate radius, similar to some of the research that you saw presented earlier about how these operate and provide for better truck turning movements. This project here cost the department about $10 million, and we were able to achieve a 10 BC off of that. And as you can see, the percent improvement overall was 85% in the AM peak hour and nearly 95% in the PM peak hour. So this one resulted in a significant reduction in delay. For this very large project, we saw the benefit for that. So now I will turn it over to Ron Knezovich, and he's going to speak on our state safety program.
Thanks, Raul. Hey everyone, I'm Ron Knezovich, the supervisor of the safety program. Our program is primarily funded through Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. This is a program that was signed into law back in 2005. And by law, I'm required to be data-driven to look for locations to reduce roadway fatalities and severe injuries. And that's something that each state has to do. We can identify projects through a reactive approach. That can be coordinating with our local governments, citizens, answering those requests, or coordinating with our districts as we do at least once a month. For each of those safety concerns that are brought up by these locals, we'll vet them to make sure they're a competitive project in our program. But we also have a proactive approach. And I do think it's important to have both of these two proactive and reactive approaches. In a proactive approach, we can identify these hotspot corridors or intersections through our data-driven safety analysis tools, such as a visual of one you're seeing on the screen. This is AASHTO Safety or Numetric, where you're seeing a network screening for high-ranking crash corridors within the state. We can filter to certain crash types, whether that's pedestrian or angle crashes, and hone in on either segments or intersections that we want to focus. But there's another type of proactive approach, and that's systemic safety. That's treating safety more at a network level and identifying high-risk roadway environments. I'll be talking about two types of countermeasures today, rumble strips and curve safety. Those are kind of our two systemic projects that I'll be speaking on. For all of these projects, whether it comes from a reactive or proactive approach, we prioritize with that benefit-cost ratio to make sure we're being data-driven and getting our highest return on investment. A safety benefit-cost ratio is the percent crash reduction in terms of the dollar value over the life cycle cost of an improvement. Each severity of a crash has a dollar value tied to it. That dollar value is associated to an economic cost as well as a quality of life cost, which is actually similar to the way insurance companies evaluate their data as well. We worked with the Department of Public Health to come up with these different dollar values several years ago. And just like construction costs increase over time, so do our crash costs as well with inflation. So the first project type I'm going to go through is rumble strips. We have over 8,000 miles of rumble strips on our Georgia roadways. We have primarily most of these on our interstates, but we're building up rumble strips on all of our principal arterials too. We've even developed rumble strip types that have lower noise levels outside of the vehicle, but still maintain that same level of noise inside of the vehicle. So they're just as effective, have less noise complaints in certain types of environments. We've worked with our design policy team to make sure these rumble strips accommodate cyclists effectively as well. So that rumble strip doesn't intrude on a bikeable shoulder space, and we keep it just narrow enough to be effective for vehicles, also maintain those bikeable spaces in those type of environments where cyclists may be present. So for the rumble strip projects that the safety program implemented, which is not all 8,000 miles you're seeing there on the screen, we've now implemented rumble strips into a variety of resurfacing projects and various other programs projects across the state. And that's through the great effort working with design policy to make sure these are programmed alongside other projects. But of the 18 we analyzed, coming from the safety's office, we have a 29% reduction in fatalities, severe injuries, and minor injury crashes on those routes. And they're really cost-effective projects with a high benefit-cost ratio of about 104. It's fairly cheap to do rumble strips relative to our other project types. Now, the next project type I'm going to talk about is high-friction surface treatment, another systemic project that we do on our sharp curves to improve the friction on those curves. What this is a coarse aggregate that is overlaid over your traditional asphalt that improves the friction and keeps people from running off the roads. We have about 413 locations implemented by the safety program across Georgia and across the state. Now, there is high-friction surface treatment in other locations, such as bridges, less for the purpose of preventing people from running off the road, though, more for wet weather and bridges freezing over. So we analyzed a variety of projects in the state. We have a benefit-cost ratio of 12 in these projects, a 33% reduction in total crashes, a 46% reduction in single vehicle crashes, or the ones that are run off road, as well as a 56% reduction in wet road crashes. These projects are most effective in those slippery conditions, keeping people from running off the road. Now, the next project type I'm looking to discuss is reduced conflict intersections. This is where we reroute left-turning maneuvers for U-turns. There's minimal restriction of access here. This is really just rerouting our routes to make U-turns. The reason we do this is because when you make a U-turn, you can do that movement to cross the entire intersection in two different movements, only having to look in one direction of traffic at a time. That U-turn maneuver can also have a better sight line to oncoming traffic as well. We analyzed 6 different projects across 4 congressional districts here. We spent about $8.9 million on these 6 projects. Now, a lot of that cost actually comes from the U-turn loom. These U-turn looms are intended to accommodate heavy vehicles that need to make those movements. So we had a benefit cost ratio of 8.6 for these projects based on the actual crashes that were reduced. We saw a 68% reduction in injury crashes as well as fatalities, and a 60% reduction in non-injury crashes, or in total crashes. So we're seeing a little bit more of a benefit in reducing those injury crashes, and that's because we're rerouting those right angle or those T-bone crashes to making that U-turn maneuver, a more severe crash type that's kind of replaced with a less severe crash type coming from U-turns. Now, our most common project type that's often implemented in the safety program, or our bread and butter, is roundabouts. We've analyzed 3 different roundabouts to show you all the results of the crash reduction today. We have a benefit cost ratio of 27 on these 3 roundabouts, and we spent about $14.6 million on these 3, so they're more expensive than the other countermeasures we're discussing, but we're still seeing that great return on investment. We've seen a 70% reduction in our injury and fatality crashes on these 3 roundabouts, but a 2% increase in our property damage only crashes. So you might see some more rear ends, but those injury crashes, they often reduce severely, and that's because it's very difficult to speed through a roundabout and travel through them at high speeds due to the curvature of the roadway as you approach, and the angle of impact when you're entering a roundabout. It's more of a merging conflict point rather than that right angle or T-bone crash conflict point. And the last project I want to discuss with you all today is the Donnelly-Hollowell roadway reconfiguration in Fulton County, Congressional District 6. This corridor is a 2.8-mile segment that was identified because it was one of our top ranked segments in the state for pedestrian crashes. What we did was we converted from 2 through lanes in each direction to 1 through lane in each direction and installed a variety of medians, pedestrian crossings, and traffic calming features along the corridor. This project met the project goals by reducing pedestrian crashes by about 90%. That is a severe reduction in pedestrian crashes, more significant than most other projects that we have. That's because pedestrians only have to cross 1 lane at a time rather than 4 all at once. And they can use that center turn lane where we're installing medians as pedestrian refuge and cross in those designated pedestrian crossings. But this isn't just beneficial for pedestrians and multimodal transportation. We had a 45% reduction in total crash types. That's because of that 2-way left turn lane can be used as storage for left turners in preventing those weaving maneuvers and vehicles from weaving around someone trying to make a left turn in a through lane. For both crash types, we see reductions in crash speeds, which lowers your crash severity. Travel speeds went from around 45 miles an hour, much closer to the speed limit of 35 miles an hour on this corridor due to this reconfiguration. That 1 through lane in each direction and those medians offer more of a traffic calming. And this project had a benefit cost ratio with real crashes that were reduced of 117. That's more than the rumble strips I mentioned earlier. So back to those 3 key takeaways Andrew brought up earlier. The Operations Improvement Program, their goal is to alleviate congestion bottlenecks and reduce delay. Our goal in the safety program is to reduce roadway fatalities and severe injuries. We both have similar goals of operational and safety improvements. And both projects, we look to receive high return on investment projects with these relatively low-cost programs by ensuring we are data-driven with a benefit-cost ratio. So thank you guys very much, and we'd love to take any questions you have.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Any questions? No questions? Well, I will say this. That was a very technical presentation, but I did learn something.
Glad you
I
enjoyed it.
learned that I mostly pronounced the names correctly, including Andrews. So thank you for your presentation. Thank your team. Thank you. Anything else come before the Program Delivery Committee? If not, we stand adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the Committee of a Whole and ask Mr. Corbett Reynolds. I think I know him. How are you, Mr. Reynolds?
Doing good, pretty good, Chairman. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Welcome.
Good. Thank you for having me. It's been a couple of years since I last presented. I think it was in July of '23. So always good to come and present to y'all and talk a little bit about what we're doing in District 2. Make sure I can run this thing. How about that? All right, so our agenda's pretty basic, probably an agenda you've seen before. We'll talk a little bit about some things that are unique to District 2. And then we'll talk about accomplishments in both operations, program delivery, Got some construction projects I'd like to update you on, and also give you an update on the quick response program. So District 2's 27 counties. One thing unique to District 2 is 19 of our 27 counties are part of a regional commission that passed TIA. Central Savannah River area in Georgia has 13 counties that are all located in District 2. In the heart of Georgia, Altamaha has 6 counties out of the 17 in that region. So that tells you that TIA is very much part of what we do. Most of the local governments we meet with are very involved with their projects, and just means very means a whole lot to the area. We also represent parts of 4 congressional districts. We're a rural district, but we still have lots of stuff to take care of. Over 7,800 lane miles to take care of. Excuse me. All right, talk a little bit about employment. District 2 currently has 410 full-time employees. Unfortunately, that leaves us with 76 vacant positions. Running that today is about a little over 15.5% vacant. The last time I spoke to you, we were running around 13.2, 13.5, I believe. Maintenance is 77% of our workforce. So when we have dips in maintenance, and we're currently going through a dip in maintenance right now, it drives that number up. We feel confident that we'll get those employees back, easier to hire in maintenance than to recruit for some of our other positions. We are definitely working towards that. There were 61 new hires during 2025, so that tells you that we've got a young workforce or an experienced workforce. But the good news is 12 interns this past year. That's the most interns we've had in District 2 since I've been doing this job for the last 7 years. So very encouraged by those numbers. And something unique to District 2 by a unofficial survey of me calling the district engineers to find out what they've got going on in their districts. But we had, for 3 years in a row now, have a intern that has gone from interning to full-time employment prior to graduation. That tells me 2 things. One, our intern program is absolutely making a difference, not just in District 2, but statewide. But the other thing, it tells me the character of the people that we're recruiting. It's not, to try to hold a full-time job and complete your college career takes quite the commitment. In fact, this year, the young man that started with us full-time, he's got 2 years left. So that's a heck of a commitment he's making. So we do that by starting them as construction techs. It doesn't require the degree. And once they complete the degree, of course, we promote them to the appropriate entry-level position. So I think when Brad Saxon was deputy commissioner, he reported on the Georgia Highway Contractors Equipment Operators Program. District 2 got involved with this program through our relationship with Washington County High School. Last time I was here, I talked to y'all about, how we bring in high schools around the area, Washington County being our main school that comes to see us because they're located right there with us. And that relationship of building that relationship, I think, was very important in getting our foot in the door with this program as well. So the Equipment Operators Program, if you're not familiar with it, allows the schools to go out and get a grant to bring in the CAT simulators. Students spend time on those things, working on both the excavator and the dozer, I believe. Go through all kinds of course requirements, and then once they complete that part of their course, they go into to the capstone project. So the capstone project takes a ton of people to put together. Highway contractors, I think we've got at least 3 contractors, Georgia Highway Contractors, plus Howard Shepherd in Washington County that works with us as well. The students for the last 2 years, second year in a row that we've been able to host this, and we think that our relationship will allow us to continue to host this. But statewide, Georgia Highway Contractors reported that they have placed 83 students in construction-related fields over the last 3 years. The Washington County program has produced 8 students that have completed the program. So District 2 has hired 2 of those employees. That's a pretty good percentage. And of course, as the program continues to grow, we just look forward to that opportunity and keeping that thing going on. If you get an opportunity, I can get the information out there, but if you want to see something pretty cool, our folks interacting with those high school students, it's a fun day. So we'll go from what we're doing to try to recruit to not my favorite subject, storm response. And the Commissioner mentioned a minute ago, we're celebrating celebrating, I reckon, but it's been gone for a year, Hurricane Helene. And storm response impacts us, it was mentioned that the power companies having to pull off and go through things. When we have to pull off and go do storm response, that means there's things that we can't get done in maintenance. That means there's shoulders that need to be clipped or patches that need to be done that we're not able to work towards. So 135,000 man-hours is probably a record, at least for District 2 in a year. Hurricane Debbie didn't affect District 2, but District 2 still responded to District 5 by going to Screven County and worked about a month on opening up county roads there. Hurricane Helene, over 80,000 man-hours spent on Hurricane Helene for just District 2 employees, and we had a ton of help come into District 2 to help us clean up during that time. And then we also had 2 winter storm events that we hope to avoid this year as well, with over 43 man-hours there. So talking about the things that we try to do in maintenance that we might not have been able to do, some of the things you see on your screen there, across the top are the activities, and then at the bottom of the screen is our goals and accomplishments. A couple of things I'd like you to take away from that is, one, we absolutely work towards goals in maintenance. We don't just react to everything that we do. There's a lot of reaction, but there's a lot of proactive work done there. And then how do we come up with those goals? An example I'll give you is with the shoulder clipping. The 3,660 shoulder miles represents half the shoulder miles in the district. It's just that simple. We want to try to get at least half of them done per year. You see that we came up short this year, and that has a lot to do with Hurricane Helene. Can't clip shoulders when you've got debris and such on the sides of the road. So still a very good year, and look to improve that next year for sure. We'll stick with maintenance and accomplishments there. I'd like to highlight the cable barrier or cable rail accomplishments. The goal set at 300 is really we kind of hit around 300 per year, not really worried about hitting that goal. In fact, if we were to do 350 lane miles, or if we were to do 150 lane miles, that wouldn't really bother me. I'm more interested in keeping the cable barrier in a state of good repair. And what we found when we first started getting our cable barrier and had contractors doing the repairs, they were really good at getting when they came in, they got basically everything there. But there's a ton of little small hits here and there. You got 7 or 8 posts down, and next thing you know, you just start seeing it sag all over the place. So for us to be proactive, we put together teams for both I-16 and I-20. In fact, I passed one of those crews on I-20 on the way up here. So cable barrier keeps them busy. So our success is in keeping one of our crews available on 16 and on I-20 on keeping cable barrier in good repair. Okay, now we'll talk about what we do with our invitation to bid contracts, our outsourcing of maintenance work. It's a big year in District 2. $19.1 million gets a lot of work done, and we're thankful to have that opportunity. 21 of those, that results in 21 projects being awarded. And out of those 21 projects, 11 were pavement preservation projects, totaling $10.4 million. Lots of work going on I-16, had 42 shoulder miles, right at 42 shoulder miles let to construction on I-16, right at $4.6 million. We still have additional projects to let on I-16, and once we complete I-16, we'll be moving that work towards I-20. So you'll see District 2 continue to work on removing trees from the shoulders or from the back slopes. And then finally, we had 81 drainage structures relined in District 2. Several years back, we lost parts of State Route 24 in Washington County due to two washouts from a thunderstorm we really weren't expecting. What we learned from that is that the pipes may have held up if they'd been a little bit better repair. So we really started taking a good, strong look at, what these pipe conditions were, challenged our folks not only in-house with our own forces to start lining pipes, but what we needed to do with our ITV dollars. So I'm very proud of that investment. You'll continue to see us work towards that each year. Okay, moving out of maintenance, we'll go into traffic operations. Traffic operations, our signal crews are part of that group as well. They perform 428 preventive maintenance and inspections on various traffic signals across the district. They also, Traffic Operations Unit conducted 25 safety enhancement reviews. Kind of speaks to a little bit of what safety group was talking about just a little while ago. And then they also performed 54 encroachment permits. And utilities. Told y'all, Nick said they were busy, and there's no doubt. 935 permits were issued in District 2. We're a very rural district. That's a pretty big number for our small district. At the same time, they certified 25 projects for letting, and then are actively performing utility coordination on 199 projects in various stages of design and active construction. In pre-construction, the district location office surveyed the property of 19 new projects, staked 10 bridge layouts for bent locations, and inspected the work of numerous survey contractors. The design office delivered 89% of their 35 project deliverables on time or before the scheduled time, with an average quality assurance score of 99%. The district right-of-way office completed the property acquisition of 4 projects and has actively been working on 33 projects in total to acquire right-of-way in FY25. As well, District 2 right-of-way acquired 139 parcels on multiple other projects that are with consultant assistance. Lots of work going on in District 2. As you can see there, we've got a little over $351 million in active construction projects. We'll start with our first update on construction projects in Congressional District 4 in Newton County. This is the construction of a roundabout to improve the level of service and reduce crash frequency. This is at Brownsbridge Road and Magnet Road. Our contractors, E.R. Snell. Total investment for this project is $4.7 million, and it was recently opened to traffic in September, just last month. Move to Congressional District 8 in Wilkinson County. This is the construction of a roundabout, again, to reduce crash frequency and severity. This is at US 441 and State Route 112. Our contractor is FS Scarborough. Total investment for this project is $3.3 million. Just getting started. I'd have some pictures of our progress, but they just got a notice to proceed in June of this year, and completion date is June 30th of 2026. Move to Congressional District 10 in Putnam County. This is 9.65 miles of widening and reconstruction on US 441, State Route 24, beginning at the Edenton bypass and extending to the Morgan County line. The contractor is E.R. Snell, and total investment here was $74.68 million. They're about 75% complete. They're nearing the final stages of construction, so there's a lot of fine grading, a little bit of base construction and asphalt construction going on. This project is projected to be open in 2026. Once this project is completed, we'll have 4 lanes of traffic from I-16 to I-20, so that's a great accomplishment for the state. Next, we'll move to Jefferson County, Congressional District 12. This is a US 1 State Route 4 corridor. There's 4 projects on the report on. I'm not going to go through each one of them. In total, it's 21, almost 22 miles of new roadway that's been built. Had 2 contractors that completed this work, Reeves Construction Company and E.R. Snell. And as you can see, a little over $156 million of total investment for these 4 projects. These projects begin just north of Wadley, extend through Louisville, and then end in Rennes right there at the Fall Line Freeway. I mentioned earlier that T is a big deal in District 2, and so these projects in total also included $12 million in TIA funding. And I'm also have to report that all projects were open to traffic, beginning the first one open to traffic in January of this year, had 2 open in May of this year, and now just this past month in September, the final leg open to traffic. So now that gives us 4 lanes of traffic from I-16 with a little bit of a bottleneck in Rennes all the way to Augusta. So again, quite the accomplishment. All right, we'll wrap up on construction updates in Lawrence County. Staying in Congressional District 12. This is US 441, State Route 31. We got 4.84 miles of widening and reconstruction. Begins just south of State Route 117 and extends to south of I-16 at Pine Hill Road. Reeves Construction Company was awarded this project. They have a current completion date of June 14th of 2027. Total investment here is $46.1 million and includes a $21.4 million TIA investment. This project's about 21% complete. They've got all the clearing and grubbing operations done. Utilities are for the most part relocated. Storm drains being installed and mass grading's underway. So, hopefully the next time I come to report on this project will be completed. All right, finally, our quick response program. Been very active in District 2 over the last couple of years. Quick response is vital to what we do. It's a very great tool for district engineers, working very closely with State Safety Office to find solutions to some problems we find across our districts. This one happens to be State Route 23 at Hancock Landing. Had some rear-end accidents happen in this location. I wouldn't say a great amount, but when you get in a rural location, just a few turns into a great number, right? So Beams Contracting completed this work, and it was just over $408,000. What I'd really like you to take away from the quick response program in D2 is that over the last 2 years in FY24 and through 25, there have been 26 quick response projects implemented. In 2024, 17 quick response projects, a total of $2.8 million. And in 2025, we got 9 quick response projects done for $1.97 million. So that's a great tool, and very, very fortunate to have that. I'd like to recognize our District State A coordinator, Matt Sammons. He's the one who puts all these projects together with us. Gets a lot of the projects from the State Safety Office, but also projects from traffic operations, and works very closely to put those projects together with other offices in the district. Just very proud of the work that he and team do. All right, have a short presentation. I, again, appreciate the opportunity to talk about District 2 and the things that we have going on. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Snipes.
Don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I just want the commissioner to understand how responsive Corbett is to me when I have questions, his willingness to meet with me and citizens to try to explain how projects are being done or why things can't be done. He just really is a credit to the department, and I really appreciate working with him.
Any other questions?
Believe that.
Yeah, they say you.
And I agree with him, Corbett.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. All right, appreciate y'all.
Questions? Thank you very much, Corbett.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next is the Interagency Office of Environmental Quality, Sandy Lawrence. How are you, Ms. Lawrence?
Doing well. Thank
Good.
you, Chairman Boswell.
Welcome.
Board members and Commissioner, thank you so much for inviting me today to provide an update on the Interagency Office of Environmental Quality, or IOEQ, as I will refer to it from this point forward, because it is a mouthful. And my name is Sandy Lawrence. I'm the State Environmental Liaison for IOEQ, and I'm excited to share some of our successes today. First, let me set the stage. We fund 19.5 positions at the agencies you see on the screen here. I'll share with you a breakdown of the agencies a little bit later, a little bit about each agency and the positions we fund there shortly. The primary purpose of IOEQ is to build partnerships with federal and state agencies, which in turn ensures on-time project delivery. There are a host of federal and state laws, as you see right here, that must be accounted for in the development of GDOT projects. And without these partnerships, our work would be much harder to accomplish, and it would take a lot longer. For that reason, as far back as the 1990s, we began contractual relationships with the agencies to facilitate reviews. And these relationships formed those personnel agreements really paved the way for the formation of IOEQ in 2019. IOEQ brings agencies and GDOT together through collaboration, as we can all kind of work in our silos, as you see there on the left side, and get entrenched in what we're doing. And what IOEQ does is bring everybody together where we can solve problems together, and it increases the speed of our response and the capacity that we have to resolve problems. Over the years since IOEQ was created, we've seen closures in information gaps through sharing of knowledge, either through training or sometimes it's just because they didn't know the inner workings of GDOT and why we asked for certain things when we asked for them. And through all of those interactions, we're avoiding rework, and along the way, solutions are proposed that really help deliver our program, and we are constantly collaborating and thinking outside the box. IOEQ is located within the Office of Environmental Services. This is my group here, the Environmental Program Delivery Team. I'm one of the assistant state environmental administrators in the office. That's the other hat I wear, along with being the state environmental liaison. I want to show you a look back. So if you're not familiar with IOEQ, it's been a minute, I think, since we presented to the board as state environmental liaisons. It started back in 2017 with a commissioner. He had the opportunity to be part of conversations at the national level with the U.S. Secretary of Transportation at the time and U.S. And other state DOTs on how to reduce redundancy and improve program environmental reviews and improve overall program delivery. And as a result of those discussions, and because of the commissioner's drive for continued improvement, Georgia DOT took the lead and spearheaded an effort to rethink how we work with our partner state and federal agencies. So then in 2018, moving on this, we created an implementation plan, then went around and visited all the agencies to get their buy-in, and Federal Highway created the liaison position, and then GDOT created my position as a state environmental liaison. 2019, we opened our doors, and on the first floor here at One Georgia Center, the agencies joined us for a few times a week to create those opportunities for collaboration. And then, as we all know, 2020 is when the pandemic started, and we all had to work virtually, and we really used technology to rethink how we coordinated with each other. And that's a holdover even into when we returned in 2022 to the office to a combination of remote work, but also being in person and trying to find that balance. And that's a reflection of where we are today as of returning to the office in 2022. We have the hybrid meetings, we do in-person, we do virtual, and we're always looking for opportunities for that engagement regardless of virtual or in-person. I wanted to share our mission statement for IOEQ. It's to develop positive institutional interagency relationships with the goal of maintaining and building trust while fostering a culture of innovation and continuous improvement in delivering GDOT's transportation program. And I know that's a mouthful, but you'll see that as we go all the way through, I hope, through my presentation today. IOEQ's mission revolves around relationship building, and its success is dependent upon that. So now let me introduce you to the agencies. This is just a quick slide to show you the number of positions by agency, but I'm going to share that with you as we go along. As I mentioned, we fund 19.5 positions currently. That can vary just based on our needs. And the agency where we hold the most positions right now, or fund them, is at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That's the first one I want to introduce you to. They are charged with enforcing federal wildlife laws and protecting endangered species. And as I mentioned, we fund 5 positions currently. At the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they have a variety of responsibilities, but we interact with them primarily through their regulation of jurisdictional waters in the U.S. and the permits that are required for impact. And we currently fund 4 positions. At the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, you may have also heard of it referred to as National Marine Fisheries Service, or NMFS, and NOAA of the Department of Commerce. They currently review GDOT projects regarding natural resources, specifically fish and wildlife resources. We fund 1 position, and this has been, I'll have a project example later to show you how really helpful it has been to add this contract in this position. Ask any ecologist. We have come leaps and bounds away from, having no predictability on when we could get a response to review to now having some predictability. At the National Park Service, we fund a position at one of the Atlanta area parks, specifically Chattahoochee River National Recreational Area. And this is really critical for those top-end projects, the MMIP projects. And unfortunately, this is currently vacant due to federal hiring freeze. Next, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, while we don't fund a specific position at this agency, and specifically the Animal Plan Health Inspection Service, or APHIS, we fund a contract with them for their biologists to work with contractors to prevent the establishment of active nests on bridges. And it's been highly successful. Ask any contractor who builds bridges in Georgia in the recent years, they will tell you how much they appreciate this. And I've spoken with them myself, so I know what they've said. So just to give you an example, before the contract with APHIS, we relied on time restrictions, or nets, and that determined when construction could start. But with the contract with APHIS, project construction starts as scheduled because APHIS monitors bridges that we provide them a list at the first of every year that are coming up for letting, and it prevents nesting of migratory birds. And so it's better for the birds, better for our contractors, and better for our program delivery. Moving on to our state agencies, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs Historic Preservation Division, or SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office. We fund 2 positions at this agency, an archaeologist and historian. Then in the Department of Natural Resources Environmental Protection Division, and then they're responsible for protecting and restoring Georgia's environment pursuant to federal and state laws. We fund 4.5 positions, and that's just a reflection of the multiple responsibilities that they have. Staying with the Department of Natural Resources, and last but not least is the Wildlife Resources Division. They are our species expert in the state of Georgia, and we really rely on them for that. So we have fund 2 positions there, but we also have access to all of their species experts in the agency at any given time. So now I want to show you some of the advantages of IOEQ. As I mentioned, through those positions, we're able to prioritize GDOT projects. So that's really a benefit because we have dedicated agency people working on GDOT projects and have a direct line of communication with the agency. They have that, we have that direct line of communication with those positions, and they have that line of communication back to me. And we can direct them on which projects to work on, what projects are a priority for GDOT. Because we have that direct line of communication, as I mentioned, timelines can be established, and there's predictability, which is huge for us making our schedules here at GDOT and delivering the program. Not only that, we're at the front of the line every time. We don't have to wait because these positions are devoted and dedicated to reviewing our projects. And we have quality, again, because of the direct line of communication. We know that agency preferences change, regulations change, requirements change frequently, and we're able to address these outside of the project level because that's when things can get bogged down. But that also loops us back into, in the future, keeping those schedules because we've already figured it out at the program level and it won't affect future projects. All of this feeds into an enhanced coordination. I have an example of that in a moment. I told you I was going to show you something about NOAA and the benefits we've seen there, so I'll share that with you shortly. Also learning, I mentioned earlier that we have that going back and forth. We get training from the agencies, but they also get training from us. A lot of the agencies are like me. I'm an architectural historian. I had to learn how to read plans. So we invite them to our plan reading classes, and there are other classes that we invite them to and have that shared experience. And they're in the same room as our subject matter experts and OES. Then this, again, begins to feed into building relationships and trust. We, again, could not do what we do without having that level of trust that when GDOT says they're going to do something, we do it. And since we have the same assigned reviewers at the agencies, we're able to also do those program-wide solutions to recurring issues or program-wide processes rather than just on a project level, as I mentioned, which can really slow things down. Which leads me to my last point, programmatic agreements. We are only able to deliver projects at the scale we are today due to these agreements. And since IOEQ is established, we've entered into several agreements such as the Cultural Resources Section 106 PA, and most recently, the BAT Programmatic Agreement, among others. So now some project examples really quick. We have a bridge replacement project in Chatham County over the Back River Bridge, and this project required Section 7 consultation with NOAA for sturgeon. And I pictured that earlier and I didn't mention it, but this is one of the species that they are concerned with. And this formal Section 7 in this case takes 135 days per the regs. So the sooner we can get that formal consultation underway, the better. That's why we meet with them monthly to set priorities. This was at their #1 priority for several months. They understood the priority, and not only that, but they beat the 135-day time frame. And that was pretty much unheard of before we had, I think it was unheard of, I can say, for NOAA prior to us having a contract with them. And another agency spotlight is with the Corps of Engineers. Similar to the NOAA, we meet with them monthly, and we set priorities for them based on GDOT priorities. And this, again, results in predictability of delivery. For this project on State Route 5, the widening in Fannin County, we asked them to expedite. We needed them to do this more quickly than our general timeline in our contract, which is 120 days. We've contractually agreed that an individual permit will take 120 days. An expedited timeline is 109 days. And because we meet with them, because they understand the urgency, they did this in 103 days. And that's huge. That means we make our schedules. I do want to show you a few more statistics and brag a little bit more about OES and IOEQ. Specifically focus on the green numbers off to the right. This is for the Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the State Historic Preservation Office, that we have this data that we're able to pull. But you'll notice the green means they're either meeting the contractually agreed upon timelines or they're beating them. And if you look at SPO, they're always beating them. We do have some work to do on that red number there for individual permits, although I will say that's just 3 projects, so one project can throw it askew. But nonetheless, that's the reason why we meet with them regularly, and we want to continue to improve. So I did want to just give a little shout out to the BAT-PA. I mentioned how important programmatic agreements are. As of the reporting that they have to do annually, so the first annual report, Ryan Polakowski, one of the ecology section managers, recently reported a 57% reduction in projects requiring agency action in fiscal year 25. That is incredible. That means anything involving a Section 7 review like that, we're just speeding right through, and it's not requiring any review period because of the PA. I also want to point out the award we won last year in 2024, and a quote from the AASHTO Journal describing it as the first of its kind, and really highlighting the importance of getting environmental documents completed more quickly and how it contributed to that. What's next? Well, we're going to continue to do the contract renewals. We do amendments as we need to. Usually the contract's on our 5-year rotation. We'll do more workshops. We'll do more training. I'm always open to suggestions from the agencies and from our in-house folks for ideas. And that brings me to the conclusion. I just want to thank the agencies who partnered with us in creating this office. And I want to thank you, Commissioner, and the board for having innovating, your willingness to create this office in the IOEQ and leading the nation. We are, I didn't think I said this before, but we are the only one, we're the first in the nation to do this, and I think we're still the only one in the nation to do this. And I'm super proud of all of our efforts. So I'll take questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Any questions? Comments? Yes. Mr. McMurray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sandy. I just want to go back. I wrote it down, Sandy, because I wanted you to say to make sure people knew that this is the only one that's been done. This is actually being talked about to be replicated nationally under reauthorization. So it's one of the AASHTO's principles is sort of the notion of the old saying, working together works. Now, that sounds a lot easier than it was, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to especially call attention to photo of so ago, a guy that gave his retirement speech, Eric Duff, down in the bottom right corner, for his work, and also the work of Haral Patel when she was over the Office of Environmental Services back then. This was not easy to get all the regulatory agencies to agree to have their people come here and work in an office here. You can just think about the territorial part of that, and I'm losing control of my people. I don't know where they are. And we have polled the staff, the regulatory staff that are working at IOEQ for satisfaction surveys, and they actually have come back to say they feel better about their jobs because they see the whole picture. When they were in their silos, as Sandy talked about, all they saw was one little piece of a project that they had responsibility for, but now it's working as a team. They understand that they're part of a bigger picture. They're encouraged in quality. That's in the name of the office. Everybody's focused on doing a really quality job for the environment as we are. So It's just been really neat to see, but it's taken a lot of work to get to everybody to say we can do this. And now even working even closer under Sandy's leadership has been fantastic to build that trust and confidence, because they do have regulatory timelines. They could just say, I'm just going to follow my timeline, leave me alone. And you're seeing how we're beating that and these are like the shot clock things. There's even more progress being made. We've tried to capture what that process improvement is, like in a % improvement. It's very hard to do because every project's so different and so unique. But I'm going to put this out here and speak it to be truth. It's somewhere between 15 and 30% improvement in time savings, in my opinion. And anybody who wants to counter me, we can talk about it at the water cooler. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we stand adjourned.